43-year-old Caren Ramirez was arrested last night by Berkeley police after Tracy police received a tip that the suspect may be at a residence in Berkeley. Tracy police were able to get assistance through the Berkeley Police Department by them stopping off at the residence in the 2600 block of College Avenue. That's where they found her at an apartment complex. She went willingly with the officers without any resistance. Berkeley police then held her for Tracy detectives to help pick her up and bring her back to Tracy. She is at this moment currently being questioned by detectives about her role in this whole situation. What we do know is that we think that the charges she will be filed against her will be the same as the Schumachers. So that will be then turned over to the district attorney's office, and the detectives will be just doing follow-up interviews. Any questions?
What are those charges?
Okay, the charges are kidnapping, torture, false imprisonment, corporal punishment, and I think another one is child abuse. But they are on the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department's website. You can go there and look at the charges that they're facing.
Was the third suspect living with the other two suspects? And if you could tell me in what capacity she was there, if that's true.
That's still being discussed. Detectives are trying to find that out. What her actual residence was. Was it in Tracy? Was it in Sacramento? Was it in the Bay Area? We're still trying to figure that out. Once we do, that information will be then turned over to the district attorney's office.
What about the people whose house that she was busted at? I mean, were they implicated in any way? Did they turn her in? And if they're not implicated, what makes the police think that they don't have anything to do with it?
That's still being investigated by detectives. We just received a tip that she was at that location by an anonymous source. So the people that she was staying with at the time, right now they aren't considered suspects in this case. They just may be innocent bystanders who are just caught up in this.
Is it a relative?
We're not releasing that.
Could you tell us how the victim escaped? I heard reports there was a car, it was a garage.
There was questions early on about how the victim escaped. There was a question about whether a vehicle was involved. At the beginning of the story, yes, a vehicle was involved, which due to its involvement led to the subsequent escape from the home by the juvenile. The vehicle was owned by the suspects, and the victim was in it at one time. And due to that situation, that subsequently led to the juvenile finding a way to escape.
That vehicle, the SUV that's impounded in the back lot over here?
Yes.
I'm confused by this.
Matt, are you saying Caren Ramirez helped the juvenile escape?
Thank you. Sorry.
Did Caren Ramirez help the juvenile escape? From where?
From the home over there on Tennis Lane?
No.
Anywhere?
No.
What was the vehicle's involvement with him escaping? Can you just explain that a little bit more?
We can't explain because that's part of the investigation, but that vehicle and the suspect, the involvement in that vehicle did lead eventually to his escape from the house. But for now, that's a part of the investigations, and detectives don't want that information released because eventually that will be turned over to the DA's office.
So did he leave from the house then to the gym? And then before that he was in a car?
He left from the house. He was...
and then into the car?
No. The time frame started with the car itself, but it eventually ended with him escaping from the house. The correlation between the car and the house, that's a piece of investigation detectives are still working on, but there's also something they want to hold off releasing until the court case.
The folks at the gym say somebody saw him jump over the wall. Is that correct? Was he able to do that?
We just know that he was able to get up and over the wall and make it over onto the in-shape property where he made it to the front door. So in terms of how he made it over, investigators are still piecing that together.
It's been reported that he lived in the garage. It's been reported that he lived in the garage. Is that true?
That information won't come out for now.
It's out in the...
Well, but detectives haven't released it, and until that is released by investigators and used in court, we can't really talk about it. Whether that is hearsay by residents,
It was a quote by a captain, Tracy police captain.
Okay, let me talk to him about that. If the captain said that, then that is the case. But detectives in the case that I've talked to haven't released that, so I'll talk to the captain about that.
He was very dirty, though. I mean, can you give us any idea? I mean, he certainly wasn't living in an ideal situation. Can you elaborate? You mentioned maybe chained to furniture or what?
He was chained. As we know, he had a chain around his ankle. His condition in the house, his situation, basically, as we know, he was dirty, he was bloody. Basically, what he was living in, how he was living, we really can't, detectives aren't commenting on that yet. A lot of this information that you're looking for, detectives say that it will come out in court. But until then, they want to make sure that the information string is kept between them and the DA. Basically, is not tampered with in any way.
Do we know how the boy ended up in foster care?
The boy ended up in foster care. Initially, he was taken from his parents in Sacramento, sent to a foster home, and then he was subsequently placed with his aunt, Caren Ramirez, who eventually was arrested for assaulting the boy herself. She ended up with a felony warrant on her head and basically was on the lam for a year. Subsequently, the boy was taken from Ramirez, placed into a second group home where he then escaped back in '07. After he escaped, he basically disappeared from the radar. And basically it was the shoemakers and Ramirez who knew where he was. No one else did.
Did he escape back to his aunt?
That's what detectives are trying to figure out. And they don't know exactly when right now he made it back to his aunt, whether he escaped from the house with her help or maybe been some time frame from the time he escaped to the time he met up with her.
But you believe he went back to his, can you tell me if he went back to his aunt first, that when he escaped from the second group home and then somehow got hooked up
That's
with
what,
the Schumachers?
that, we don't know that yet. I mean, that question is being asked right now by detectives. They have her and they're trying to figure that out.
Pat, I know that...
The Schumachers and Miss Ramirez are equally involved in the abuse of this kid? And they were all
For now, detectives believe so because they're all being charged with the same crimes.
Matt, I know that you have your more immediate concerns. I mean, the arrest just happened last night, but does the police department, does the city, are you looking now at the potential that this has hints of a lifetime of abuse? Is it too early for officials to be looking at the bigger question?
Well, that will be handled by Child Protective Services. They're the ones who are going to handle that. The juvenile has been transferred back to the Sacramento County Child Protective Services custody, and so that's up to them. You have to contact them about his further care.
So the boy is now out of the hospital.
He's out of Sutter Tracy Hospital and has been transferred into the care of the Child Protective Services. Where he's at right now, we don't know.
Is he arraignment tomorrow at the same time for the third suspect?
No, she should be arraigned probably around Monday, but the Schumachers will be arraigned tomorrow, 1:30.
Matt, as you know, a lot of people are expressing interest in helping this child. I mean, how can people help? This has gotten national attention.
Let me get back to you on that. We are in the process of trying to figure out, because he is a ward of the state, how to get him any type of aid, any type of help that the public wants to give him. We are working, our police department is trying to set up something so that there is a place for the residents to turn to, whether it's a phone number or an email, if they want to give and help support this boy.
Have his parents made any attempt to contact the police or get in touch with their son?
At this point, not that I know of, and any other further contact will be done through the CPS.
And when he escaped, why did he go back to his aunt? That's the fact.
That's hard to say. I mean, honestly, detectives are still trying to figure that out. But anything that is said to the detectives from the Schumachers, the victim, or Ramirez, detectives are not releasing pending getting the case ready for the district attorney.
You mentioned that Monday.
What concern is she showing for her nephew? Remorse, concern?
I couldn't tell you that right now. I mean, literally, she is right now in interrogation with detectives.
How long does it appear she was in Tracy?
We don't know. It could have been a year. We're not sure yet. We still have to piece together this final piece of the puzzle. You know, how long did she know the shoemakers? At what point did she come in contact again with her nephew? And when did all three parties get together?
Are all of the other 4 children that were taken from the Schumacher's home their biological children?
Yes.
Now, is she Ewan's character?
In the picture at all?
Of the victim? Not at this point, not that we know of, no.
You had characterized her, I think, as a key in all this. Is that correct? Is she sort of the key to putting all this together? Or you elaborate on that?
Well, you have to realize that there are 3 parts to this story. There's the victim's statement, the statement of the Schumachers, as well as the statement of Ramirez. We have the Schumachers and the victim's statement, but we needed Ramirez, who was a person from the time the juvenile had disappeared until last Monday. You know, she was the one who probably had the most contact with him during that time period. She somehow was connected with the Schumachers. What is her connection in all of this? We don't know if she picked him up from the Sacramento group home. We don't know at what point they got together. And so until detectives can piece that portion of the puzzle together, we won't have a clear picture.
You mentioned that Monday, when he went over to the health center, he was dazed, he was confused, he wasn't sure of where he was or how long he had been in this area. Is he still dazed? He's out of the hospital, but does he comprehend what's going on?
Well, that's a medical question we can't answer.
How's he doing? Can you tell us how he's doing?
Well, last we had, he was in stable condition, and he has been his medical condition is to the point now where he was able to be released into CPS custody.
Do you still have an officer with him? You know,
No.
he was.
No, now he is in the custody of CPS, so his further conditions, that's up to them.
Matt,
to
some of
release.
the neighbors out there said that they, over time, had seen him outside playing in the yard and occasionally mowing the grass and so forth. I mean, help us to understand, why didn't he just, escape at that point?
That's hard to say. I mean, that really is a question that detectives have to find out, and the district attorney has to find out for the case. We don't know what was going through the child's mind.
Matt, you kind of indicated that all 3 of the suspects are cooperating or talking with the police. Is that true?
They're talking with police. Cooperation is another story. But they are, the police are investigating, and they have questioned the Schumachers. They were able to get enough information to charge them and book them into the county jail, and right now they're doing the same right now with Ramirez.
Did she know she
ever
was?
sell the boy to the Schumachers?
That you have to talk to the DA about. Basically, they're the ones who are putting the charges together, and from the case that we have, the investigators haven't come up with any information on that. In terms of whether or not they did that, that's a question that really needs to be answered by the district attorney as to whether or not they're charging them for that.
What are the charges on the bail sheet, though, says that?
Well, the charges on the bail sheet.
Or having a parent or something.
Sorry, say it again.
Paying a parent for a child.
Is that on the bail sheet? Yeah, you check with the DA on that one. I don't know what the charges are in terms of paying for a child or anything like that.
Did she know she was being sought after, or what? Do you know? I mean,
She knew she was being sought after. I mean, her face was plastered all over the Sacramento area, all over the Bay Area. She knew that the search was on for her. So when officers came knocking at the door in Berkeley, she gave herself up.
How many tips did you guys receive yesterday about her whereabouts?
We didn't count the tips. We just knew we had several tips coming in, mostly from the East Bay a lot, from people, because we had said that she was possibly in the East Palo Alto area, so a lot of tips came in from that area.